50,000 jobs. That's it. In a country of over 330 million people, the United States added just 50,000 jobs last month. If that number doesn't alarm you, it should. Because what we're witnessing right now might be the beginning of something much bigger, much darker, and something that could change your life in ways you're not prepared for. I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening in the labor market, why the warning signs are flashing red, and most importantly, what you need to do right now to protect yourself and your family. Stay with me, because the next 10 minutes could be the most important financial education you get this year. Let's start with the brutal truth. 50,000 jobs is not just a bad number. It's a catastrophic number. Economists were expecting around 180,000 new jobs. We got less than 1/3 of that. Think about what that means. Businesses across America, the engine of the world's largest economy, are slamming on the brakes. They're not hiring. They're not expanding. They're preparing for something. But here's what makes this even more terrifying. This isn't happening in isolation. The labor market slowdown is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. And when you put all the pieces together, the picture is downright scary. Let me walk you through it. First, let's talk about what jobs were actually created. Because not all jobs are created equal. A significant portion of these 50,000 jobs were part-time positions, gig economy work, and temporary contracts. These aren't career-building jobs. These aren't jobs that let you buy a house, raise a family, or plan for retirement. These are survival jobs. And the fact that even these low-quality jobs are barely being created tells you everything you need to know about where we're headed. Now, the unemployment rate. Officials will tell you it's still relatively low, hovering around 4%. Sounds good, right? Wrong. That number is a lie. Not because they're making it up, but because of how it's calculated. The official unemployment rate only counts people actively looking for work. It doesn't count the millions who've given up looking. It doesn't count people working part-time who desperately want full-time work. It doesn't count the underemployed, the discouraged, the invisible workers who've fallen through the cracks. When you look at the real unemployment rate, what economists call the U6 rate, the number is much higher. We're talking 7 to 8% or more. That's millions of Americans struggling in silence while politicians celebrate fake statistics. And with only 50,000 jobs being added, that real number is about to get much worse. Let's dig deeper into why this is happening. There are several forces converging right now, creating a perfect storm in the labor market. Force number one, interest rates. The Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates aggressively to fight inflation. Higher interest rates mean borrowing money is expensive. When businesses can't borrow cheaply, they don't expand, they don't hire. They cut costs, they lay people off. We're seeing this across every sector of the economy. We're already seeing this. Real wages, adjusted for inflation, have been declining for most workers. That means even if you got a raise, it's not keeping up with the cost of living. You're falling behind. And with only 50,000 jobs being created, this wage compression is about to accelerate dramatically. Employers will have all the power, workers will have none, but it gets worse. The gig economy, which many people turn to for supplemental income, is also contracting. Uber, Lyft, DoorDash, all these platforms are oversaturated with workers. Too many drivers, too few rides. Too many dashers, too few deliveries. The side hustles that helped people survive are no longer viable. The safety nets are disappearing. Now, I want to address something important. Some people will say I'm being too negative, too pessimistic. They'll point to past predictions of doom that never materialized. They'll say the economy always bounces back. And historically, they'd have a point. But this time is different. And I don't say that lightly. This time is different because of the speed and scale of technological change. This time is different because of the level of debt in our system, personal, corporate, and government. This time is different because of demographics, with an aging population and fewer young workers. This time is different because of climate change, creating economic instability. All these factors are converging at once. We've never faced this combination before. So what does this mean for you? If you're employed right now, you need to understand that your job is not safe. I don't care if you've been there for 20 years. I don't care if you're the best performer. Companies are making brutal decisions based on spreadsheets, not loyalty. You need to have a plan B, a plan C, and a plan D. If you're unemployed or underemployed, you need to accept that the old strategies don't work anymore. Sending out hundreds of resumes isn't going to cut it. You need skills that can't be easily automated or outsourced. You need to become indispensable in ways that AI and cheap foreign labor can't replicate. If you're young and choosing a career path, you need to be strategic like never before. The career advice your parents gave you is obsolete. College degrees don't guarantee jobs anymore. You need to think about where the economy is going, not where it's been. Healthcare for aging populations, skilled trades that require physical presence, creative work that requires human insight, technology that builds and maintains AI systems. These are the areas with potential. But beyond individual career planning, we need to talk about the bigger picture. What happens to a society when good jobs disappear? What happens when millions of people can't find meaningful work? History shows us it's not pretty. Social unrest, political extremism, crime, addiction, mental health crises, all of these increase when economic opportunity disappears. We're already seeing the early signs. Political polarization is at historic highs. People are angry, scared, looking for someone to blame. Populist movements, both left and right, are gaining strength because the traditional economic system is failing ordinary people. When the labor market continues to deteriorate, these tensions will explode. The establishment response has been inadequate. Politicians talk about job training programs, but training for what jobs? They talk about infrastructure spending, but those are temporary construction jobs, not long-term careers. They talk about universal basic income, but that's just admitting defeat, admitting we can't create enough jobs for people. None of these solutions address the fundamental problem. Technology and globalization are eliminating the need for human labor faster than we can create new opportunities. Let me give you some concrete numbers to drive this home. In the 1960s, General Motors was the largest employer in America with over 600,000 workers. Today, the most valuable companies like Apple and Google employ a fraction of that while generating vastly more wealth. Technology companies create enormous value with relatively few employees. This is the new model, and it means fewer and fewer people sharing in economic prosperity. The wealth concentration is staggering. The top 1% now own more wealth than the entire middle class. This isn't sustainable. When you have 50,000 jobs being created while billionaires add billions to their fortunes, the system is broken. And broken systems eventually collapse. So what's the solution? Honestly, I don't have all the answers. Nobody does. This is uncharted territory. But I can tell you what won't work. Pretending everything is fine. Ignoring the warning signs. Hoping it will magically get better. Those strategies guarantee disaster. What might work? We need massive investment in education and retraining. Not the superficial programs we have now, but comprehensive, well-funded initiatives that give people real skills for the emerging economy. We need to rethink our economic model, moving away from pure profit maximization towards stakeholder capitalism that considers workers and communities, not just shareholders. We need serious conversations about wealth redistribution, whether through taxes, universal basic income, or other mechanisms. We need to regulate AI and automation in ways that protect workers while still allowing innovation. But here's the hard truth. None of this will happen quickly enough. The labor market is deteriorating now. The warning signs are flashing now. By the time politicians and economists figure out solutions, millions more people will have fallen through the cracks. That's why you need to act now. Build multiple income streams, acquire skills that are hard to automate, build relationships and networks that can help you navigate tough times. Save aggressively because rough waters are ahead. Invest in assets that hold value during economic turmoil. Get out of debt as much as possible because debt is a trap when income disappears. And most importantly, stay informed. The mainstream media will sugarcoat these numbers. They'll tell you the economy is strong, everything's fine. Don't believe it. Look at the real data. 50,000 jobs in a month is not fine. A slowing labor market is not fine. The warning signs are everywhere if you're willing to see them. The coming months and years are going to be challenging, but challenges also create opportunities. Every economic transformation creates winners and losers. The winners are those who saw it coming, adapted early, and positioned themselves strategically. The losers are those who ignored the warnings and kept doing what they'd always done. You get to choose which one you'll be. This video is your warning sign. 50,000 jobs is your warning sign. A slowing labor market is your warning sign. The question is, what are you going to do about it? The clock is ticking and the economy waits for no one. Force number 2, corporate profit obsession. Companies are reporting record profits, but they're achieving those profits through efficiency, automation, and layoffs, not through growth. They've discovered they can do more with less, fewer workers, more technology, same output, higher profits. This is the new corporate playbook, and it's devastating for workers. Force number 3, the AI revolution. And I'm not talking about some distant future. Artificial intelligence is eliminating jobs right now, today. Customer service roles, data entry, basic analysis, content creation, even some legal and medical work. AI doesn't need a salary, doesn't take vacations, doesn't complain. For businesses, it's a no-brainer. For workers, it's an existential threat. And we're only at the beginning of this transformation. Force number 4, globalization and outsourcing. Companies can hire workers in other countries for a fraction of what they'd pay American workers. With remote work now normalized, there's no reason for a company to hire someone in New York when they can hire someone equally qualified in Manila or Bangalore for 1/5 the cost. The global labor market is crushing American wages and American job security. Now let's talk about what sectors are being hit the hardest. Technology companies, which were hiring like crazy just 2 years ago, are now in massive layoff mode. Google, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, thousands and thousands of jobs eliminated. These were supposed to be the jobs of the future, the safe careers, the places where smart people went to build wealth. Not anymore. Finance and banking are contracting. With higher interest rates, fewer people are buying homes, taking out loans, investing in markets. Banks don't need as many loan officers, financial advisors, or support staff. Manufacturing continues its decades-long decline. Automation and overseas production have hollowed out the American manufacturing base, and that trend is accelerating. Retail is in free fall. Online shopping killed many physical stores, and now AI and automation are coming for the e-commerce jobs too. Even healthcare, long considered recession-proof, is seeing hiring slowdowns as hospitals deal with budget constraints and administrative bloat. The safe sectors are disappearing. There's nowhere to hide. Here's what really keeps me up at night. We're entering what I call the compression phase. For decades, the American economy had enough growth to absorb displaced workers. Factory workers became service workers. Service workers became tech workers. There was always somewhere to go, always a new sector hiring. But now, every sector is contracting simultaneously. Technology is replacing workers faster than new jobs are being created. Where do people go when there's nowhere left to go? The historical precedent for this is terrifying. Every major economic transformation has created massive social upheaval. The Industrial Revolution displaced agricultural workers, leading to decades of poverty and unrest before the economy adjusted. The automation of manufacturing in the 70s and 80s destroyed the American middle class in many regions, creating rust belts that have never recovered. This AI-driven transformation could be 10 times larger and 10 times faster. Let's talk about wages, because this is where the labor market slowdown gets personal. When there are fewer jobs and more workers competing for them, wages stagnate or fall. Simple supply and demand. Employers know you're desperate. They know you have no other options, so they can offer you less. And you'll take it because you have bills to pay.